we can't hate these people. We have to understand what's going on and react in an entirely different way, and so she met our criteria there. The scarred woman, or the woman who wears scars, is another temporal marker. When the personalities show up like this, we insert them in the reports, because if they show up, then those things that are temporally associated with them are just around the corner. And so the appearance of that woman later on will be associated with, then basically, when you see a woman, a female personality that appears in the global media stream, it may be alternative media and then gain mass attention, but it might even be mainstream. But when you see this personality appear, then you'll know we're within, say, a month or so of the whole outbreak of the revolution going active, etc., and the big shift in the populace, where maybe 7 or 10 or 12 or 15 or 20% of the populace will get it, and they'll say, no, we don't need to reform our government, we need to do away with it and get at these powers that be guys, and then start having technical solutions, etc., etc.
Right. Good idea. Good idea.
But basically, she's a temporal marker. The
Yes.
device stuff, we're starting, as you noted in our conversation earlier, we're starting to see it start to hit the mainstream.
Yes, it is. And, you know, like I said, there's a lot of places where they're dumping information, and it's just little spurts here and there, and if you're paying attention, you can see how it all correlates, and even in with your reports. So it's been pretty interesting. It really has. We have another question for you. If you've ever seen the movie Knowing or The Day the Earth Stood Still, and what are your thoughts about either one of these flicks?
Well, I love the Day the Earth Stood Still, the original. I don't go to theaters or any of that kind of stuff because of issues with key energy.
Right.
I don't handle crowds well.
Right.
So if it doesn't come out on video, and even then I may not see it for years because it's just my eclectic interest. I am interested in this Knowing movie, and I'd like to see what that's all about.
Yeah, me too. That one was the one that piqued my interest as well.
Yeah, but beyond that, no, I'm sorry. I don't usually just watch those things.
Okay. And how, this is another one, how we might be involved in 5 wars if our military bases have to be dismantled.
Well, they're not simultaneous. One leads into the other. We get into a 5-theater situation, our logistics are spread terribly thin, and all of a sudden we can't even pay for stuff because other countries are no longer accepting our green pieces of paper or otherwise a transferred electronic debt in lieu of goods, and so we have to start evacuating people. The military, for instance, may have to withdraw and abandon bases in Greenland and Finland and so on so that they can use the oil and diesel that keeps those guys going in other parts of their operation. Make sense?
It certainly does.
Okay, so one will trigger the other, and they will on-go from that period. But it'll be when resources become very desperate that they'll start thinking about shutting down a lot of these bases that, basically are just there to intimidate the locals.
Sounds right. Sounds right. And it does. It absolutely sounds right. Now, we're going to get into something, let's see, how much time before we have a break? How many minutes? We got 5 minutes. Let's talk a little bit about, and thank you, my engineer, thank you very much for your prompts over there. I appreciate it. The obvious big thing that's just hit today was the flu pandemic,
right? Which
is a concoction of the swine flu, avian bird flu, and human flu. Right. So, of course, it certainly couldn't have been manufactured.
No, remember, we put it down to that accident. That guy fell out of the airplane, hit the flying pig, and the two of them collided with that duck, and all of them were sick at the same time, and it all merged.
That's what's happened here. So we want to make that clear for everyone.
Yeah.
Lots of concern over that, obviously, because I think that goes back to the report before this.
Yes.
With the
disease issues.
With the disease issues. So if you if you'll touch on that for us.
Sure. We actually showed. We started discussing this. I think. 909 and then into 1109 reports, we discussed some of the disease issues that would be prevalent in 2009. Now, let's note that so far we don't have any deaths or anything in the U.S. relative to this, but our healthcare system, again, an expression of duality at the same time that we have the rise of these diseases, we're going to have a global problem in providing, at least in the U.S., any imported medicines because our dollar is going to die and then we won't have anything to buy this stuff with. So our pharmaceutical situation is not going to be very good. But that will actually take most of spring and summer to manifest into a really nasty situation. That was what we were alluding to around the autumnal equinox. Around the equinox in September is when disease really takes off in the U.S. and we start having some very serious issues. But it's also a combination then, not only of disease per se, but also the pressures on the healthcare system.
Right.
And of course, those are dollar-based.
So it's hit. This flu has hit, and
Right.
there's been people in the chat box tonight that, of course, you really don't know what the numbers are, and you don't know how much is fact and
Right.
how much that the media is just blowing this up. We don't know all the facts in it, but we do know that the flu, this swine flu, swine avian, human flu thing that's all been created is hit. And anywhere
for the U.S. In Canada, it will grow over summer.
Okay.
And again, it's a continuing problem, and it's not going to we're very early in this, guys. And I would look for it to be very much more of a situation for us 5 and 6 months from now.
Okay. And when we're going to take a short break, Cliff, when we come back, I have some questions specifically on that, and a couple other questions for you as well, and we'll get some more information from you. For the rest of you, don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, welcome back, and we're here with Cliff High. We left off at just before break talking about the flu pandemic that's hitting, and you made a statement, Cliff, to all of us that it's going to get worse over the next 4 to 5 months.
Right.
And
not necessarily singly focused on swine flu, for instance.
Okay.
Our data for the past couple of report series has indicated that from this July 15th point onward, we'd see the degradation of the healthcare system and an increase in disease in all forms being a problem within the social structure.
All right, so if it's not just the flu we have to worry about, obviously it could be just anything, I guess. And
Sure.
I
You're
think
going to
that
have
gets back
compounding problems
Right.
in all different kinds, yeah.
Right. I think that also has to do with, we've talked a lot with you about the chemtrail thing.
Yeah.
That's always just, kind of irritated me that they've done this